Madam Chair, fellow trustees, and Superintendent Reynolds. This evening, as the chair has indicated, I received a notification of recall earlier this week. So today would be the 5-day window for my position. And that's why we're here tonight, in large part, because the law prescribes a date by which you have to respond. And the other options this week, we either didn't have a quorum, we had board members traveling for family or medical situations. And so one comment I'd like to offer is that while it's easy to assume that it was a conspiracy that we're meeting on a Friday night, the more reasonable and actually honest reason is that we all have lives, we all have family members who need us, and sometimes life gets in the way. So here we are on a Friday night. That's largely my fault, and the product of the fact that we're all very busy people who are volunteers here. That said, I'd like to begin by saying that I'm offering my resignation from this position effective immediately. I've come to this decision after a great deal of thought, and I want you to know that I have really tried to consider what's in the best interest of everybody. Ultimately, I took most of my guidance from our incredible superintendent, who, from the day that she arrived here, has said, everything starts from the question, what's best for kids? And when I thought about what's best for kids, I had to think about, first, what's best for my kids. Then I had to think about what's best for all of your kids. And when I look at what's best for my kids and your kids, what's not best for our kids is a long recall process that takes attention from the classroom and puts it on adults who shouldn't be part of the equation. We need to have our district's focus and attention on what happens in the classroom and supporting our children and our educators for that magic to happen. And at a point when any adult detracts from that, someone has to change that path. My second question that I tried to focus on is what's best for our community. I think that it is fundamentally a negative thing for a community to pit factions against one another and have parents divided. In this community, it's particularly important that we have a unified parent and taxpayer group, because we are, by definition, dependent on self-taxing to keep our doors open. And the negative effect of comments made, whether true or not, on this district and its ability to be financially solvent for years to come is going to depend on the ability of this community to come together as one and put our children ahead of all the adults. The last thing I focused on is what's best for taxpayers. Recalls are expensive. The process of replacing trustees is expensive. The learning curve and trustees figuring out what they need to know to do the job well is a lengthy process. It is in the best interest of all of those constituent groups to have trustees seated and longitudinally committed to what's happening in our schools. And we're now facing a situation where everybody sitting here may not be here in May. Trustee Wheatney is currently working on legislation which will turn over half those positions again 4 months later. So this is a situation critical for this district. And I think that what we're doing now largely has to be in the interest of preserving the district, keeping the district whole, supporting our superintendent and our educators and our staff, and putting our children first. So the last thing I would say to those of you, and many of you are here tonight, who have said to me, stay and fight, we want to fight with you. I'm going to ask you instead to join me fighting for our schools rather than fighting against adults who aren't putting our kids first. Thank you very much.